The Fantastic Four First Steps has officially hit theaters, and right now the popcorn meter at Rotten Tomatoes sits at a 92%, with the tomato meter from critics sitting at 89%. So the reviews so far are pretty dang good, and Deadline has reported that the Fantastic Four First Steps opens up the Thursday night previews with around 23 million. So the Fantastic Four are off to a great start in their Marvel Cinematic Universe debut, but what comes next for the Fantastic Four? Well, Marvel Studios has already revealed in their infamous chair video, or Avengers Doomsday is now in production video as they called it, that the whole cast of the Fantastic Four is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. So it's not a spoiler to say that the Fantastic Four survive the movie. Not that I think anybody thought that they were going to die. You're not going to introduce the Fantastic Four for the first time in the MCU ever and just kill them off. Having said that, we will avoid spoilers for the Fantastic Four First Steps. If you haven't seen the Fantastic Four First Steps yet, and or you haven't seen the post-credit scene yet, it's still pretty easy to see where this is going for Avengers Doomsday, especially because the Marvel Studios president, Kevin Feige, came out and talked a little bit about it recently. And of course, if you have seen the Fantastic Four and or the post-credit scene for the Fantastic Four First Steps, you know exactly what we are talking about. Why the Fantastic Four come to the main 616 universe like we saw in that post-credit scene for the Thunderbolts. Well, we have a new Fantastic Four / Avengers scene revealed to us for Avengers Doomsday by none other than Kevin Feige himself. And as it turns out, it looks like the Fantastic Four are going to be going back to their universe even after they arrive on Earth 616. So, in Avengers Doomsday, what is now confirmed to happen is the Fantastic Four will leave their 828 universe, go to the main 616 universe, and then head back to their 828 universe again. And like I mentioned, this is coming from Marvel president Kevin Feige. Check out what he said to comicbook.com. When talking about filming right now for Avengers Doomsday and the Fantastic Four's involvement, he said, "We're shooting on all the same sets that we built for Fantastic Four, and it is very fun." I would say the new iconic Baxter Building living room and kitchen where we saw the four get to know each other, let's say there are a lot more people in that kitchen in Avengers, and it's fun to literally see people coming into each other's homes, which is pretty awesome. So this is an incredibly awesome reveal right here. The Thunderbolts post-credit scene showed us that the Fantastic Four do come into the main 616 timeline. And now, according to Kevin Feige, when they go back to their universe, they bring some Avengers with them because we're going to see some Avengers in their kitchen, in their living room. And right away, just visually and story-wise, that's going to be really cool to see because you're going to have a lot of these characters from a different universe that is set forward in time in the future in the 2020s, going to a different universe that is set in the 1960s but does seem more advanced than theirs. And I actually think that's going to be a really cool plot point for Reed Richards specifically, to establish him as literally the smartest man alive, which is who he is. But it's important that the other Avengers who have never met Reed Richards, except for Doctor Strange, but we're not really sure if he's going to be there in this scene, and the Reed Richards that he met in the 838 universe wasn't exactly the smartest when he simply reached for the Scarlet Witch and then got spaghettified. So I guess it actually is kind of important for Doctor Strange to see that this Reed Richards is very, very smart, the smartest man alive, and all the other Avengers need to see this as well, because his mind and his tech is going to play a pretty big part in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars in defeating Doctor Doom, who the Fantastic Four are chasing down, along with the Avengers, of course. But now there is a big question looming over our heads. Why do the Avengers go with the Fantastic Four back to their universe? Based on everything that we know so far about Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom is going to be headed to the Citadel, where Loki is currently at, and he's also going to make a little quick stop by the TVA somehow. And this makes sense because if we are going to get the destruction of the entire multiverse, well, unfortunately, Loki's got to get off that throne. He's holding the multiverse together right now, so if the multiverse gets destroyed, that means he somehow gets separated from all of those branches that he's holding on to. And in the past, we have heard a report from the Cosmic Circus that Doom actually is aware of what Kang did with the TVA, and he's aware of how Kang actually secluded the main sacred timeline and pruned all of the other branches and universes. And since we've heard that he is going for the TVA and then Loki, it would make sense that he has heard and is aware of what Kang has done. And according to the Cosmic Circus, he actually is kind of pissed off about it. Now, for those who are wondering, I don't think we're going to see Kang. I don't think there's really going to be a mention of him. In fact, in the recent interview that Kevin Feige did with a lot of the outlets where he did a roundtable, he wouldn't even say Jonathan Majors' name. When talking about Kang and the situation moving away from Kang to Doctor Doom, Kevin Feige would simply say the Kang actor. He wouldn't say Jonathan Majors. So I'm not really sure they're going to actually say his name, and I doubt they'll show him, but hopefully they give us some type of closure for that character. But either way, somehow Doom gets to the TVA, and I'm assuming it's probably via some type of teleportation / multiverse travel. And as far as we know, the Avengers, they don't have that ability. They can time travel, but they needed Tony Stark for that. The rest of the Avengers, including Bruce Banner, couldn't figure it out. Tony's the one who did. And now we're talking about something completely different. Teleportation and multiversal travel. They haven't cracked that yet. But you know who has cracked teleportation? Mr. Fantastic. And in the Fantastic Four First Steps, and this isn't really a spoiler, it's just kind of a pass-by moment, he does mention that he knows about other universes. He realizes that their universe is not the only one. There is a multiverse. Seriously, it's only mentioned for like 2 seconds in the movie and they briefly move by it. But that does tell us all we need to know about Avengers Doomsday and why the Avengers would go from their universe to the universe of the Fantastic Four, the 828 universe, along with the X-Men, of course. I don't want to leave them out. Because based on what we know, there is going to be a pretty big team that goes to fight against Doom, and that team will have the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the X-Men. It'll have some Wakandans like Black Panther, and Namor is going to be involved as well. Although we do know that there's going to be 2 different really big fights, one in the TVA against Doom and one on Earth, perhaps against Doombots or an Avengers team that's sort of a variant Avengers team that Doctor Doom himself has assembled. So however the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and everybody ends up learning about Doctor Doom and what his plans are to get to the TVA and to get to Loki, they'll know that they have to stop him and get to the TVA and get to Loki first. And the only way to do that is via multiverse travel and teleportation, which again, Mr. Fantastic has basically cracked. So it seems like the Fantastic Four go looking for Doom and they end up in the Avengers universe. The X-Men are there as well, and they all decide that they need to team up to go against Doom. Reed Richards realizes that their technology there hasn't exactly surpassed his, even though he's back in time, so he tells everybody what they have to do. Go back to his universe, go back to the Baxter building, his lab, and use his teleportation device / multiverse device to get to the TVA that way. That's why I believe all of these Avengers are going to be in the Baxter building, in their living room, in their kitchen, because Reed has to build this portal to get to Doctor Doom at the TVA, to get to the TVA before Doom gets there and takes control over the multiverse. Now, ultimately, I think that Loki does get dethroned. Doom does kind of take over the multiverse. Not really. The multiverse gets destroyed and Doom ends up being God over what is left. One world built out of the remains of destroyed universes. Battleworld. Since of course we are going into Avengers Secret Wars, and they did say that the Secret Wars they are taking inspiration from the comics is the 2015 version, which has Battleworld. So although it's going to be epic to see the Avengers go to the Fantastic Four universe and see them travel through the multiverse and eventually get to the TVA, I do believe that they're probably going to lose, much like they did in Avengers Infinity War. But overall, it sounds like it's going to look amazing, and if this really is the story we're getting into, it sounds like the story is going to be amazing as well. Or dare I say, fantastic. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Does this excite you and does this make sense? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to stay up to date with all the recent Marvel news, rumors, and leaks. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.